Welcome to the review of Stronghold. Stronghold was created by Stormfront Studios in 1993 and published by SSI. What a way to make an intro. Stronghold begins by displaying this demo, which I'm going to cancel in order for us to continue with the review. You're presented with a main menu option screen here. We're going to create a new game, and we bypass the copy protection. And then we're going to choose a random world. There's some preset worlds, but the random ones are more fun. You choose the hostility level for the creatures that you're going to be fighting. We're going to go medium and choose aggressive. Stronghold is a real-time strategy game, one of the first. And of course, any real-time strategy game should have a save game feature. There's a great achievement menu option where you can get a list of the previous best games. There's also a menu option for changing the message delay. We're going to leave it with the default because it seems pretty good. Let's begin the game. You start the game by moving around on a map, trying to find an area in which you can place your baron or baroness. It's really cool because there's a big overhead view like this, and there's also a zoomed in view. Here we're clicking around on some mountains, and now we're looking at some grass trying to find a good place to go. You can hear the sound effects in the background of running water, birds chirping, wind blowing. It's really nice. Stronghold's rules are based on Dungeons & Dragons. This means that you have all the standard attributes and some standard classes and races. Now for some strange reason, the races are mixed with the classes. You can choose one or the other. Any of the classes end up being human. Any of the races obviously are not human. We're going to create a lawful cleric as our main person here, and we're going to name it female. You can see we waited until we got the highest wisdom possible, since clerics need high wisdom. One of the coolest features about Stronghold is not only is it a strategy game, but it has role-playing aspects. Here we can see individual units, their experience points, their armor, their hit points. That's a nice touch. And we can also view our leader, and it shows popularity, how much gold we have, the types of buildings. And again, we can click on individual units and see what they have. At the bottom of the screen, it'll display messages for the units. A lot of times they try to give you some helpful advice. You can also ready, unassign, or set a unit to be home-based on the screen you're on. We're also going to be creating a thief. You get to choose up to 5 different bases. Here you can see a female thief that's level 1. This one's more powerful. This is a 4th level one as the game has progressed. Our next leader is going to be Elf. Now you can see it's asking us to raise a primary ability if we want to, and we're going to choose intelligence, and what it does is then you can lower one of the other attributes, which elves don't really need wisdom, so we'll lower those. We're also going to create some mages. As you're creating these leaders, you'll want to figure out where you want to place them. You can use the overhead map. You want to place your units fairly far apart. And finally, we need some tough guys to help. So we're going to enlist some dwarves. You can move ready and unassigned units around by clicking on the appropriate leader and then clicking the magnetic bar to attract the units. In addition to managing units, you must also manage your buildings. Each leader starts with a keep, which holds a certain amount of food, and it also allows for a certain amount of population. One of the coolest features in this game is the number of buildings. Each class and race has different types of buildings. Some are in common. Usually you want to create housing in order to make sure that you have enough space for your units to keep growing. Sometimes you'll need to create food type places such as farmland or trees. There's also trees scattered across the land that you can either chop down or claim. Trees actually can produce income and they can produce food. Certain types of buildings have different types of purposes. As you can see, plot here can feed 10 people, but for thieves it only feeds 7. If it's by water, it feeds 10 people. If you use an upgraded farm, that can feed 36 people and 150 people if it's next to water and it's a plantation. There's also swampland that you have to fill in at times. Any type of building or filling takes time. Here you can see it's 67% complete on the main castle. In order to perform an upgrade, simply select the building and click Upgrade. Store sheds can be dispersed across the map in order to store food during the hard seasons, such as winter. You can only accumulate 3,000 gold by default, so sometimes you need to create vaults to store the gold. There's also income type buildings, like here a thief can create a dice den which generates 5 gold. The upgraded version can generate 10 gold. Elves have wood carvers or puppet makers in order to generate income. There's also specialty type buildings such as leatherworks and armories. These will increase the type of armor on your units. One of the things that makes this game so awesome is the way that each race or class has specialty type buildings. It really makes you think and strategize for the game. By default, characters can only reach level 4 on their own. Then you have to start creating training dens. Sometimes you end up just building structures, like a bridge in order to cross a river. Other times you're going to have to repair some of your land. Buildings can become damaged if you leave them unattended. The game designers made it where you can capture enemy buildings. Oftentimes the buildings were unattended, so you have to repair them. But the cost for doing that is dirt cheap. There's also a concept in the game which is totally awesome, and that's the seasons changing. You'll notice the background changes with the season. Here you can see snow even on the main map. Check it out, 150 people versus 30 people being fed in the fall versus the winter. Now let's talk some numbers. You can view any leader and you can see information about the gold they have, the income, food stored, property, their popularity, and the list goes on and on. There's even a friendly option to auto build if you really want the game to do it for you. I tend to turn that off though, which is off by default. Here's a nice grid viewing all the different buildings. And now some major strategy. You can select individual units, and then you can change the rate in which they'll build, train, or recruit by clicking on this triangle and dragging around with the mouse. Yet another feature in the game is the ability to find mines through these rocks. You'll notice the cool sound effect as you try to excavate them. Most of the time that's what ends up happening. However, every once in a while you'll get lucky. And here we found some iron deposits. You can find iron, which is 50 gold, gold, which results in 100 gold, or you can have gem mine, which is 250 gold. When your mines run out, head to the hills. That's where they're most plentiful. Eventually your baroness or baron will increase in rank, as long as you're doing things right and running the towns correctly. Not only can your baron increase in rank, individual characters can as well. Slowly over time as they train or fight monsters, they can increase, as the second level dwarf has appeared for us. But beware, there's also monsters scattered across the land. Here's a carrion crawler. We can look at its hit points and armor class, and even view its leader. Monsters are designated on the map as little red dots. Here we can see another enemy. You can see them in clusters on the map sometimes. Here's an actual base for some evil thieves. The music's a nice touch too.